I know you mentioned being an advocate and a peer model at where you currently work in the clinic and that you attended there as well. When you first started going there, was there anybody that you can think back to that kind of led you down that path where you're like, I'd love to do this for someone else as they were doing it for you? Like who's your idol, I guess?
I would say probably about halfway through my high school career is kind of when we solidified that this is where I wanted to be, this is what I wanted to do, that I'm good with children and I like to work with children. And in that process, there were two therapists. I think they were both in the process of getting their BCBAs, if I remember correctly, who ran the preschool classroom. And it was not an inclusion model. It was just a preschool classroom for autistic children. And that was like one of our first ones because we used to be inclusion based. We're not anymore. We're just an autism school. So they ran the very first kind of iteration of one of those classrooms. And since it was a preschool classroom, that's where I got signed up to kind of help in the mornings. And I had all kinds of tasks that I was supposed to do. I was supposed to ask the RBTs if they needed anything. I'd bring them things, very, very basic tasks. I'd play with the kids at recess, that sort of thing. And Andrea was the main teacher, and she was the one who really kind of pushed me A, to develop clinical skills, and B, to develop adulting skills. Those executive functioning components, show up on time.
Yeah.
Be respectful when you talk to the staff. Even if you're in a grumpy mood, you don't get to be grouchy with them. And as time went on and I got closer to senior year, those requirements for me to be in the classroom or to help in the classroom became more strict, and they increased in number. And additionally, the consequences for not following those rules became stricter as well. And so, like, we don't use punishment anymore. However, I will say it was very effective. I was a teenager, and teenagers are just by nature the worst. Autism or not, teenagers are just the worst. And I was the worst. And so in response to repeated snarky comments to the staff or, whatever it was after several warnings, they would take, those boxes of picture cards, those like language building picture cards, they'd dump them out in the hallway and say, you can come back when those are sorted. And there was one day I did it again, but I had already sorted the picture cards. So they dumped out a bookshelf in the hallway and they said, you can come back when the bookshelf is sorted. I didn't do it again. So it worked. I'm not traumatized. I just learned that there are consequences to certain behaviors. And I was very motivated to kind of align my behavior with what sort of fits in the workplace. And I just needed a lot of extra guidance in terms of what that looked like.